We have seen steady improvement in the site, and that improvement continued over the weekend and today.
People are going on, they're still getting the same error messages they got 3 days ago.
I think you're confusing error messages with the queuing message, which is quite a different thing entirely. That is that the queue message is a specific tool that was upgraded and improved and made to be more sophisticated, so that when there were surges in traffic on the website this day.
What's the goal then? Just to keep moving them into other lines? I mean, the goal is obviously to enroll more people, right?
Absolutely. And
so if they're still
those people
waiting,
who want to, more people are visiting the site and are able to effectively go from beginning to end when it comes to enrolling than was the case in October and in November. Significant improvements have been made.
Well, I thought one of the most telling elements of this was the government's own report on the vast improvement in which it said that the website is now going to begin to operate at private sector velocity, which was unbelievable in its irony. Here is an official government document which is openly admitting that the private sector is infinitely superior to the public sector in doing stuff. And it does this in a document which is trying to reassure us about an enterprise, Obamacare, which in fact is a deprivatization, a nationalization of the entire universe of American medicine, 1/6 of the economy. It makes you wonder if these guys even read their own stuff. The problem here is, number one, the capacity is quite low. 50,000 is a very small number. Amazon handles over 1 million an hour, and here if you go to 50,000, you end up like Peter Ducey, where you have to wait 5 hours until you get in a queue, with a lovely British word, meaning in an endless wait until the website is ready for you. Second is security. All the experts who were before Congress a couple of weeks ago have said it is utterly insecure and they wouldn't use it in the absence of security. All kinds of information is now vulnerable. And the third is what you mentioned, the back end, which means all these people are shoving information into a system which is either reaching the insurers incorrectly, in which case there are going to be huge complications. It could take, eons to actually undo the bad information, or is not reaching the insurers at all, in which case somebody's going to show up on January the 1st thinking he has insurance, who doesn't, and we're going to have all hell break loose.
375,000 customers found that even after subsidies, only 10% would actually see a decrease in cost, while a third of them will face significant rate increases as a result of Obamacare. These are, stats, one state, obviously, of 36 that dealing with the federal exchanges. But when you go into the weeds of this, Charles, it's quite something.
Well, that's why, as you showed earlier in the show, the president has now dropped the word most, because it's not going to be most. It'll probably be a minority. It could be a substantial minority, but it will be a minority. And as Britt indicated in his commentary, if you get lied to, if you're told you're going to have a decrease in the premium, and then you learn A, that the premium is increased, B, that your deductible is huge, and C, that you can't see your own doctor or use your own hospital. The anger and resentment at the 80% of Americans who, in a poll at the time Obamacare was passed, indicated they liked the insurance they already had. The anger and resentment about this, first about the actual loss of what they had and the increase in cost, and second about the over-deception, is going to be overwhelming. And that's why Democrats are scared to death, especially the ones who are open for re-election next year. How do you escape that? There is no escape.
Well, there they are, the Romaikas, a German family, devout Christians. They say they're alarmed about what their children were learning in German schools, so they decided to come to the U.S. to homeschool them. It's illegal in Germany. But they were granted asylum here in 2010, but the Obama administration decided to appeal that ruling, and the family lost. The Romaikas could lose custody of their kids if they go back to Germany. Now it appears the U.S. Supreme Court is going to take up this case. And the Obama administration is saying they're not eligible for protection because homeschoolers are not recognized as a social group eligible for protection. Tony Buckley writes in regarding the family, is there a winning argument, Charles, against the administration's position they're taking? And if so, what is it?
Well, I think the argument is a rather complicated one. It's an interesting one. And I think ultimately it's a question of whether a personal interpretation of your religion would be the grounds for giving you asylum on the grounds of persecution, or whether it has to be a widespread one. For example, if Germany had denied the family the ability to declare the godhood of Christ, there would be no question that would be a persecution of a Christian on the grounds of his religion. The question of whether or not the belief that the family has that to allow a child to go into public school is against the religion because of the corrupt way or any religious way that children are taught is clearly a minority view, a personal view. And I'm extremely sympathetic with that family, and I wish it weren't being, persecuted, having the threat of their children removed. But as a question of our principle of granting asylum, if the court takes it up, it's going to have to decide how widespread a belief has to be to actually be one that the United States would recognize persecution. Otherwise, there is a danger of a lot of personal interpretations which it would have to defend and become a huge magnet for asylum requests.
This has been a Sunfish production.